The word ecology was coined in 1869 by the German zoologist Ernest Haeckel, who derived it from the Greek word oikos, which means household. In this lesson, we will discuss the essentials of stream ecology, or a stream as a house. Think about your house. There are several processes that exist to create functionality. People who live in your house interact with each other. There are systems in place for maintenance, cleaning, and feeding. There are comfort areas and places of rest. Now, imagine if someone came in and rearranged your furniture, or banned you from your kitchen, or turned off your heat, or worse, what if someone demolished your house? What would you do? How quickly could you adapt? When we work in and around water, we are changing the dynamics of someone's house. To better understand, let's take a closer look at the oikos of a stream. First, its inhabitants. Stream inhabitants are very interactive. At the bottom of the food chain, we have bacteria that are involved in the decomposition of material in the stream. Algae functions as a food source. Macrophytes, or seaweed, are also a food source, a source of oxygen, and a place for critters to hide. The macroinvertebrates are the small bugs, arachnids, mollusks, crayfish, and shrimp that provide food for the larger stream inhabitants, of which we are most familiar because we like to eat fish. Finally, there are amphibians, reptiles, birds, and aquatic mammals that rely on streams for protection, food, and clean water. So now that we know who lives in this house, let's talk about the physical features. These features include dissolved oxygen, pH, temperature, light, and flow. The significance of these features is much like the heating, cooling, and ventilation systems in our homes. When we consider flow, we must understand where the water is coming from and where it is going. The source of water can be direct through precipitation, underground, or over land. Once the water is in the stream, its power to erode channels and carry sediment depends on its velocity and its volume. Flow determines the habitat that is created within the stream. Flow gouges out deep pools and deposits shallow riffles and woody debris in a stream. Deep pools are great areas for fish to feed and rest, whereas riffles are often used as spawning habitat. Log jams are great places of refuge for fish because the water is slower there and there are places to hide. When we impact flow, we change the rooms in the house. Light provides streams with energy to help plants to grow, and this impacts the amount of food available and the temperature of the stream. Temperature is important in a stream because it affects the metabolic rate of the stream inhabitants, and it affects the amount of oxygen in a stream. Imagine if your house was always 45 degrees Celsius, would you want to get up and do chores around the house? Dissolved oxygen is the amount of oxygen in the water. Dissolved oxygen is dependent on three things: turbulence of the water, biological activity, and finally temperature. The final factor that we will discuss is pH, which means the potential for hydrogen, and it is a scale of how acidic or how basic a substance is. pH impacts the rate of chemical reactions. It also impacts the nutrient availability in the water and the general health of the stream organisms. You can see from this chart that a healthy stream has a pH between 6 and 8, and that fish die if the pH becomes too high or too low. When we think about the oikos of a stream, the comfort and the functionality of its inhabitants is not only impacted by the interaction of the biota within the stream, but it's also dictated by the amount of dissolved oxygen, pH, temperature, light, and flow. If we affect any one of these physical features, When we work around water, we change the function of the stream.